Yeah, this
This is our last
was
image here, guys.
Chris.
So we can start taking some
Yeah,
questions on the right side as you build, and we'll just finish out. Go ahead, Morgan.
and so this was I think right before Christmas Eve maybe, and I just when I'm home in Santa Barbara, it's actually a really nice kind of creative reset because like I said, I spend my free time. I'm actually surfing myself. I go hiking every day. I'm just chilling with my dog and my parents and my friends here.
Mm.
And but what I like to do is I also will just take a camera, put it on a strap, grab the most random lens, and just go for a stroll. And like my favorite place in the world where I learned kind of spent all my childhood surfing and filming and stuff is at the harbor. And there's a wave at the end of the harbor called Sand Spit, and it's always small and perfect, like flawlessly perfect because of the sand buildup. And so Christmas Eve, I think I was heading over to my parents' house to go have dinner, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for a quick walk um, and just take whatever photos right at dark. And I walked out and just was like, wow, it's knee high and absolutely perfect. So I just sat there with my knees in the sand, and it was freezing cold, and took a couple photos, and then went over and had dinner with my family, and that was it.
Wow.
Just like and it's funny because it's such I mean to insinuate that like I was driving from my house. I live on one side of town, my parents on the other, and the harbor's right in the middle. It takes me about 5 minutes to get there, and I either skate or bike
Mm.
or drive my car if I'm taking stuff down to the boat or whatever. And I just stopped and went for a 10-minute walk, and this to me is, I mean, it's like a very personal photo because it's like that's my haunt, and that's like it's just a very serene, calming moment that kind of
Mm-hmm.
encapsulates how I literally spent before I'd ever touched a camera from age 9 to 19. I spent every free second out there just like
Mm.
on a boat with a spear gun with my surfboard, even just like chilling with my friends, like ditching school and just like skateboarding on the jetty, or just
Yeah.
like talking smack. We would just That's it.
Yeah.
That's like my little zone.
Damn. I love it. Let's look at some of your. Thank you, Morgan. That was a epic conversation. I really appreciate it. Let's take a couple questions as we go on this. So, can you please tell us about your favorite lens to use in the water? Keep up the amazing storytelling, from Ian. Tell us about your favorite
Okay,
lens
cool.
to use in the water, above or below. You kind of talk about what you feel is the best for you.
Yeah. So the only two lenses I use in the water are the 16 millimeter fisheye and the 50 millimeter
Mm,
1.4, and both are Nikon full frame lenses. The 16 millimeter is a 2.8,
mhm,
just your stock standard fisheye, and I use that when I'm shooting underwater because it obviously pulls in super wide angle. There's not really distortion underwater,
mm,
and you're in a dome port. It gets you the shot you want. It's just super wide and awesome
mhm,
for shooting. It's perfect. For above water, for everything above water, I shoot 50 millimeter,
mhm,
and so that's probably 90% of the time I'm in the water. All the above water shots you've seen here were with 50, and it's just how I shoot everything. I
mhm.
shoot it really wide open, like usually f 3.5 to 5.6. And to me, the 50 is the first year I shot photos. The 50 did not leave my camera,
Mhm.
and so that's what I just shot. I learned, and
Yeah,
that's how
I
I
like the
see kind of
50.
everything. I love that
Me
mode.
too. Big
Um,
fan.
and in the water, it's just kind of like I think it's I don't ever use zoom lenses, and I don't really like any other focal lengths, and probably because I oscillate between having so much comfort with that
Hmm.
lens that it's very easy for me to take the photos that I
Right.
want when there's like a moment I really want to capture and do justice. And I'm also so comfortable with that lens that when I want to push myself and challenge my creativity, that lens gives you the opportunity. You have to move around and
Yeah,
use it. You have to
yeah.
be like that's why I don't even like gravitate towards the 35 or a 24, is because
Mm,
they have an artificial wide angle look and feel to
mhm,
them. The 50 is just straight up what you
mhm.
see, and it then puts the ball in your court to put you where you need
Very
to be.
true. Very true. And that's the same thing with zooms. I Sometimes you have to shoot at pipe. It's shifty. It's all over the place. So, okay, 24-105 or 7200, but I don't like shooting that. But getting to shoot like my 50, I shoot it so much different from than what I shoot with the 24-105,
Mm,
of making yourself move, making yourself get in there rather than
yeah,
sitting comfortable and just zooming in and out. So I feel like those primes
totally.
just give you such a different look. We had another question.
I,
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
Oh yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
you go.
Yeah, I mean, like I see I can tell every time you shoot with a zoom
Mm,
lens, and you also too every session you get every shot you need
mhm,
to, but your 3 out of your 4 best shots at Pipeline
mm.
were with the
Yeah,
50, and it's
yeah.
like it's there's something magical about that lens too. I think it's like because the glass
Mm,
element they're able to fit in it. I might be talking out of my butt, but I
yeah,
swear it's that lens they can put such high quality
yeah.
glass at such the right focal length, and it's still such a small and
Hmm.
compact lens.
I love
So
that. 51.2.
it just
Yeah.
4,
Oh, I'm a 1.2,
8
12.
must be
When
nice.
you are shooting those closer shots, do you rely on autofocus or an open aperture or manual and a higher f-stop? Your work is so sharp.
So I always I also see the same question for stills. So for video, it's always manual
Okay.
focus, and this is on the red. And the vast majority of my shots
Yeah.
are with a 14 millimeter 2.8 or a 55 1.2.
Mm-hmm.
For video, it's the red doesn't have an autofocus motor. It relies on the lenses. I don't rely on the lenses autofocus motor. It's just not great. I don't even, to be honest, I've never even gone down the path of understanding it. So I'm all manual focus. I rack focus, whether focus pulling on my water housing
Jeez.
out from an external
Yeah.
button, or I fix the focus. And then when you're shooting, obviously outside the water, you're pulling focus. For stills, it's actually all
Mm.
autofocus. I think there's been, I have a 22.8, a really crappy plastic lens from I think the mid 90s, and I dropped it. The focus motor's broken. It's fixed focus. I will use that very rarely because it captures uh, clouds and
Mm-hmm.
storms with a really, really like
Mm-hmm.
artificially dark tones, like the most like it makes it looks like I've just gone haywire editing, but it's just naturally because of this lens. And so that I'll just set the focus to infinity and then click it back a minutia of a millimeter on the focus ring and let it be, and it's everything's in focus,
Wow.
and it works above and below. That's
Beautiful.
it.
Great job, man. That is epic. Okay, we'll take 2 more questions here real quick. So when you're first starting out, did you spend a lot of time reaching out to publications and showing them your work to get your foot in the door, or did they come to you? Guys, you got to put yourself
So
out there a lot, and kind of get
yeah,
yourself in and going. But yeah, let's hear from Morgan here on this one.
so what I did, I was actually doing graphic design full time when I was 19 and starting to shoot photos, and that's when I was experimenting with cameras. And through graphic design, I was very fascinated with web design, and so I always, even before I shot photos, I maintained a meticulous website and a blog, and where I would just showcase whatever I was working on, whether it was art or little films or photos or my pursuit into photography, whatever. And I got really lucky that my blog had a bit of a following. And so when I started posting photos to it and the photos became usable, people started reaching out to me
Mm-hmm.
because I honestly, like I explained earlier, is I reached out to a couple of photographers for kind of advice in Santa Barbara and Central California, and I got no help.
Mm-hmm.
And so uh, if someone did that to me now, I would say, okay, well, you have to do this, 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 and this. Here's this person's phone number, that person's email, whatever. But I didn't know to do that because I didn't receive that advice. So
Yeah,
I just kept putting my stuff out there, and
yeah.
I kept working my job because I was like, I can't imagine how you make money off photography. That's so weird. Huh? Maybe I have to work for Reuters or AP or something. Um, and so I got some attention on that, and then actually, as I explained earlier, through my blog, I got hired to go on that trip to Fiji. Sailed around, got that photo, and I took the photos, and I was like, I'm going to put these on my blog and my website. I can't wait to add them on. And Trevor showed them to the people at Patagonia, and they reached out to me. So I'm a total anomaly in that sense. I don't think that happens really ever.
Mm-hmm.
I count my blessings that it unfolded that way because otherwise I would not have known.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas now, I mean, even a year later, that methodology changed. I figured out the lay of the land very quickly, and you have to have a concise website, a tight portfolio. You have to now you ideally have an iPad. You have your social media looks really beautiful. It shows that you're constantly creating great work. It shows that you're a personable person. You're networking with other people, and you have to not only put that out there, but have zero expectations that people will see it, and you have to go the extra mile and reach out to people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like collaborating with people through social media, you know, having a blog, sharing your thoughts in your projects, showing people you're active, constantly streamlining your portfolio, and then taking those things and banging on doors, emailing, cold calling, cold emailing people. You know, pre-coronavirus, like I would literally show up at offices and say like, hey, here's an iPad with my work on it, like call me, or here's a little book I printed, call me, and stuff like that. And that's I don't think there's like it's something they I don't think they could teach you in photography school or business school in general, but it's the art of being aggressive, you know, and just reaching out, because if you're polite and you say please and thank you, no one will fault you. The worst thing that will happen is they'll just say no, or whatever. And so, and it's worked out pretty well, I think, for everyone I've seen that pursued that method.
Epic. Great answer. We're gonna take one more question just for time's sake. So how do you color correct your videos, and how is your workflow? And I know there's a few other questions if you want to just hit up Morgan direct on those. Sorry, we couldn't get to everything today. We kind of just went over a little bit of time. So what is your color correct? How do you color correct your videos?
So for that, I mean, obviously the majority of my work is shot in red. And so in red, I will either correct in Red Cine X, which is Red's native program for color correction, and I'll imprint the color file onto that clip. Or if I'm personally editing the film and it's not something I'm DPing or handing off to an agency or a client, I will use source settings, which is like basically a trimmed down version of Red Cine X that exists inside of Premiere. I'll do a preliminary color correction, and if it's a complicated clip, I'll either finalize it in Red Cine X, or source settings will just kind of maintain my color correction. But I keep it pretty simple. I really like my red color profile. I spent a lot of time building on the camera. I use very weird ancient lenses, and so when I put it into color correction, that look and feel of it is pretty natural. All I really do is bring back down the exposure, and I don't mess with the color at all. I don't mess with the curves or tones at all. I just really correct the exposure and sometimes wiggle the contrast.
There it is.
So keep it pretty simple.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you very much, Morgan. And hey, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much to Canon, John, and David on the back end running everything. And Morgan, thanks for being here. We'll talk soon. And everyone, we will see you next week on Between Sets, again on Tuesday. So thank you very much and have a great week. Stay well.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Between Sets. Make sure to like and subscribe to be tuned in on all future episodes. Thank you.